guys at One Met Pod give us their prediction in regard to the Juan Soto contract talks. So let's react. Welcome back to the channel, friends. If you like our content, please like and subscribe to our content. As always, I am Ray. We're going to be reacting today to the Mets One Met Pod, Joe DeMayo and Connor Rogers. We've had Joe on our show before on Twitter. Very much respect his opinion, especially in regard to the Mets prospects. My gosh, this guy knows everything there is about the Mets farm system. They talked about today about the Juan Soto contract, where they expect talks to start and where they potentially could go. Let's take a listen.
And I'm curious your take on it. Like, what does it even start with the preliminary round? This to me is partially what we've wanted, the chase, the big free agency, building up to an absolute splash at the winter meetings, right? Because there's probably a team, and it could be the Mets out there that are going to.
By the way, Connor might have the best hair I've ever seen.
Going to enter this round and say, we're going to skip the $500 million phase. We're going to make a near Godfather offer right now. I just don't think they're going to accept anything until the winter meetings, the biggest part of the baseball offseason typically.
Could be, but remember, John Heyman recently said that he would not be surprised if Soto signs before the winter meetings, maybe the week after, in between Thanksgiving and the winter meetings.
Go on, and it's a big spectacle for Scott Boras, and good for them. They've earned this opportunity to do this, and it's going to be fun and exciting. What is your take on this preliminary round for teams interested in Juan Soto?
I would think in order to be quote unquote taken seriously, I would think the offer has to be in the neighborhood, if not slightly more than what Shohei Ohtani is getting on an annual basis. Because I think
didn't Ohtani sign for $700 million over 10 years? I don't know if that's with or without the deferrals here, because there's no way Soto's getting $70 million a year.
Boris's ideal outcome is that he gets the most money per year and the most money ever.
Right.
And obviously Ohtani has all the deferred money, so that kind of takes down the value of the contract to more like 10,460 is kind of where people estimate it at. I have to imagine you have to clear one of those barometers, I think, to kind of put yourself in position to be at the next stage. And Connor, what's funny how you mention it, who's going to come in with what kind of offers? Is Steve Cohen and the Mets offer now more or less not final, because I don't think anything's truly final.
One thing that's really interesting is I'm wondering if the offer is going to change for the Dodgers, because they just spent 182, 186, whatever it ended up being, on Blake Snell. Are they going to again spend $1 billion potentially this offseason by adding Soto and Snell? You might be adding Soto for $700 million and Snell for about $2 billion. You're going to be spending, just under $900 million after spending 1.1 last year. So roughly $2 billion in 2 off seasons. They probably have the revenue to do it. I don't know if they have the drive to actually commit for all these long-term contracts.
Final at this stage, but does he come in and go, I'm not going to mess around and just offer you $550 million now when I know in 10 days I'm going to offer you $650 million.
Right.
What's the point in doing that? But every team's, I think, going to approach this differently. And at the end of the day, as much as Steve Cohen or any other team that's in this chase really wants Juan Soto, they still want Juan Soto at the lowest dollar figure that they can get him at, even if that's, $679 instead of $700. Saving every $1 million that you can, does mean something.
I agree with that, but you also have to be very careful with being fragile, because he may want to return to the Yankees, and it may have to be $50, $60, $70 million over the length of the contract more for him to go to the Mets or not go to the Dodgers, where it was probably his preferred destination. We heard reports that he loved living out in San Diego. They're only a couple 100 miles apart, so he likes the West Coast. He's closer to home being in New York, but he liked the West Coast when he was out there, from all reports that I've seen. So you also got to be very careful. Trying to save $1 million or $2 million here, $1 million here could that turn him off and him say, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to go to LA or I'm going to return to the Yankees? Got to be very careful with that.
But it's just good that we are beyond we're getting to know each other. They went on the first date. They had dinner. They did all the nice things like you laid out in your plan. They flew private. They did all these cute things. Now it's time to get down to brass tacks, and we start with offers. And from here, they'll win.
So that's pretty much where they're at, Mets fans. They think that Steve Cohen's going to jump right in with the big offer. They're not going to mess around with the $550 million thing. We saw a report yesterday, whether it's confirmed or denied, that the Mets supposedly made the only quote-unquote serious offer to them, knowing that there's going to be rounds and rounds. Hopefully Steve Cohen comes out aggressively enough and just makes the push immediately. We don't want a Carlos Correa situation. We don't want, the B team guys like when Cohen first came here. I don't want the McCanns. We don't want that. We wanted the JT Realmutos, We didn't want the Starling Martes. We want the big fish. If you're going to be the richest owner in sports, we need to spend like it. Us Met fans are more than willing to pay the ticket prices, as we always have been. So let me know what you guys think of what they had to say. Maybe you disagree with me down in the comments. But, do you agree with me? Should Cohen just go all out right away, or do we have to play the slow game? And as more news comes out in regard to the Juan Soto situation, we'll be sure to bring you as much content as we can. Until next time, see ya.